Hello, and welcome to the Consider Your Mind podcast. I'm your host, Eric King, and along with my co host, Mino Pachan, we're here to talk about all things mental health. Let's get into it.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Consider Your Mind podcast, episode number 18. Let's see here. Last week we had talked about some eating disorders. Went over a couple articles there. We'll share some experiences and whatnot. So if you guys want to hear about that, go ahead and tune into last week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
This week we have two very special guests, a returning guest as well, Mr. Stephen Moore and his wife, Alicia.
The fam.
Welcome to the podcast, guys.
What up? What up?
How you
Man.
been?
So awesome to be back and bring my wifey with me. What's up, babe?
Hi.
She's over here cheesing. Very big smiles right now, man. Thank you guys for having us back. I appreciate it, man. Y'all been doing y'all thing. It's been so awesome.
Yeah, man. You were there for our first episode. You kicked us off, gave us our street cred. And so now you get to see us, we 18 now, episode 18, we grown. You get to see us as adults, responsible and stuff.
I love it. I love it. And perfect timing to have my wife join us on this journey for this episode today. Everybody knows I like to talk about my journey with my journey through recovery. You know what I mean? Battling with addiction and overcoming it and recovering through it. And, we were talking last time about the support and family support. And so I thought it'd be a great idea to have Alisha come and give some insight on what it was like a little bit, talk about that whole support system, man, which is so huge.
So huge, man. And thank you because, again, from the first episode to I think it was number 8, we did this part 2, journey to sobriety.
Yeah.
And, you mentioned, hey, man, shout out to wife, shout out to my support system, shout out to, my family. And so I just thought, man, that deserves such, its own thing because no matter what we're dealing with, going through mentally, physically, whatever it is, family and support, friends, people around you, that really makes things better. That eases the time. That can be the difference literally between success and failure in people's recovery. So thank you so much for joining us, Alicia. We really appreciate it. We're trying to get a feminine touch on the show too. This is, we're the fellas out here, but mental health is for all. It's for the ladies too. We want to thank you so much for joining us and bringing your experience on the other side of it to us.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So, again, for those who don't know, gotta recap. So maybe they're just catching us for the first time. If you go back to our first episode, we had Stephen Moore of More Awareness Tees coming on. Yeah, there you go. More Awareness Tees. Don't have it in the description box, of course. Still, the partnership is strong. Yeah. And talking about how he used his journey to getting his, sobriety and overcoming his alcohol addiction through Alcoholics Anonymous and parlaying that into apparel and T-shirt and awareness company for other to help others that are struggling as well. And so that kicked it off, and then we followed it up with a part 2, episode 8. And so now on this episode 18, we really want to get kind of a brief background about how this all started. Where did this start off? Because I think you guys just celebrated a very special day yesterday. So if you can give us just a real brief background of how you guys met and how we got to this point here today.
If we're talking about how we met, right?
Yeah.
Actually going to meet someone else.
Downtown where?
Minneapolis.
Downtown Minneapolis. Now, are you from Minneapolis?
Yes, I am
Okay.
from Minneapolis.
There you go. City's
Grew up
good.
in South Minneapolis.
Southside.
And then also I moved to Illinois and lived there for a little bit and then moved back here.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually going to meet someone else. I had a date planned with someone else, and then
Oh, wow.
I saw Steven and we started talking, and I ditched the other guy, and I've been with him ever since.
Man,
So
that's
cool.
game.
Oh, man.
Mr. Steal Your Chick. No, just like,
No, that's a lesson right there, guys. Hey, got to
So
take the
that's basically
opportunity.
So
how we
Shoot
Steve
shot,
just happened to
but-
be there at the right place at the right time, then, huh?
yeah.
There you
No,
go.
it was crazy. I was still doing my rapping thing at the time too, so I was at that particular place performing. Shout out to Holler Early, Playboy, Don Toot, Black Dog.
Free the
Shout out to the
guys.
Holler Early family. Yeah, we were actually rapping, man. I thought I was gonna be the next big thing back in '06. Because that was
Oh,
2006 when
Mhm.
this all, yep.
Okay, we all
And
missed
so,
that.
it was one of those nights. Yeah.
Man, no, that's beautiful.
And here we are, 16 years
16 years.
later.
Yeah.
No, awesome. So let me tell. So what was it like, Steve? Pre sobriety. So okay, we fast forward a little bit. You guys meet. So between now and then, when I met you all again, way back, episode when we recap was
Yeah.
at the Mayweather fight. Like 2015 or 14 or something like that. And
Yeah.
so that's when I was at you all's house, met you that one time, and little did I know, again, pretty soon after that, he would, go through this, fight with addiction, and you'd be there by his side. So I just kind of wonder what was that time, because from outside looking in, everything looked lovely. I was at y'all house eating y'all food, watching the fight, you know. So
Yeah.
You get used to putting on a face, I guess you could say.
okay,
And if he wasn't too um
Inebriated.
thank you, I was looking for the right
inebriated,
word. If
okay,
he
the
wasn't too
technical term.
inebriated, it didn't you wouldn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
So I got used to um being able to put on a face and pretend like everything was great.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Hostess with the mostest.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically tried
Mhm.
to be anyway. But it was a difficult journey. I wasn't sure we were going to make it out of it.
Mhm.
I didn't think we were going to. Um,
That's
so
real.
I mean, there's a lot, but yeah, it was an everyday struggle. Um, it uh, it was
Mhm.
rough.
Yeah. And how long would you say that kind of that period of it was? Because remind the people again, how long have you been out of AA, out of your program,
A
Steve?
little over. It's been a little over 4 years now.
Okay, 4 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah. And what gave me the so like when was prior to that, 4 years before, and again we're gonna get to it when it took them 3 years to do a 3-month program, the
Mm,
greatest line ever, which
7
sticks in my head.
at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's
So it
about
was about
7. Yeah.
7.
I mean, I
Okay.
think probably he was an alcoholic when I met him. I just
I was just
didn't.
broke. I ain't had no money.
Well, he was broke,
Wow.
but also
That is the realest thing ever
I
said
was
on this show.
drinking with him, and it
Yeah.
was different.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm. Yeah, younger
Probably
time.
money had something to do with it too, but I
Oh yeah.
think I didn't really notice it until after. Well,
After I mean, I
maybe
started to make
after
a little bit
Olivia
more.
was born and he had a better job, and then it
Yeah.
really. And I wasn't drinking as much. And I think
Mm,
that you can kind of step back and with a clear lens and
Mhm.
see that there was an issue there. So, I mean,
okay.
I think for 2008 to when did you start the
I
4
would
years
say
ago to about
it's
then?
it's been about a 8 year journey, which I'm about a little over 4 years clean. Um, I actually came to the realization because it took a while for me to actually realize that I had an issue, and then it took some struggling period of me to try to actually get some help.
now before
So
Steve, when you were going through that, like what was the drawing point for both of you, like together? Was it you, Alicia, said, "Hey, I think you have a drinking problem," or was it you, Steve, saying, "I think I have a problem"? Like, what
Well,
point
I
was
had
it
been
that you
telling
guys
him for
met?
years he had one.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
It
Oh,
had
okay,
been
so
years and years of saying you need to get help. You have a
yeah.
problem. Like it took many, many years to get
And
him to that
I think
point.
it didn't nothing actually changed until I fully realized like, okay, this is for real a problem. Like, you know what I mean? I've heard her say it and some of her family members voice their opinions about my drinking and how it seemed a little excessive and how I was a different person. But
yeah.
not until I realized it myself, I think is when I actually took steps to go ahead and do
now
something about it.
Do you
That's real.
think part of you didn't want that help or didn't want to hear it at the time? Why
Yeah,
it
for
took a
sure.
while for it to hear it,
What was
Because I
that?
know, because for me, like when I was trying to quit like smoking, I would
Mhm.
say, "Oh, people, you should quit. You smoke like a lot of cigarettes, bro." And for me, it was just like I hear it and I
Like
want
y'all
to,
just
but
hating.
I wasn't ready to quit.
Yeah.
Like, was that similar to how was it for you? Like, okay, now is the time. Like, I for real need to stop. Like, I could see how it's just affecting me, my family, all that.
Well, you know what? I think one of the biggest problems was I had a lot of enablers, like a lot, because I started to make a little bit more money.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so I was
Access.
also contributing to other people's I don't want to call theirs the addiction or whatever, but I was buying everybody else
You were also an
drinks. And
enabler.
I was also in
You
the
were an
misery
enabler.
loves company.
Yeah.
So when I was
That's
in
what
a
I was thinking.
miserable
Misery
state,
loves company. Yeah. Of
you know what I
course.
mean? I was trying to keep the party surrounding around myself constantly. So there was a lot of people who was telling me, man, you ain't really got no problem. You just need to maybe tone it down a little bit. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
Because
so
that would challenge them. If you had a problem, that probably meant they had a problem since
yeah,
y'all was
yeah.
doing it together. And as she said, once it was after she had the baby, she wasn't drinking as much. Then it's outside looking in because it's
Yeah,
all good when it's all good and you're having fun. And as you
yeah,
said, something that's very important. She start to make a little bit more money, more access. You know,
yeah, yeah,
a blessing.
definitely.
A blessing can turn into a curse, if misused. Absolutely. Some people out here, they just don't have the resources to be the,
Yeah,
addict or whatever that they probably could be. So that's a
yeah. I
heck of
mean,
a
'cause the
realization.
drinks were limited at first. I mean, I mean, you can only go so much. When
Hmm.
you on a
Yeah,
budget, you can only do so much. But
yeah, buzzing on the
yeah,
budget.
yeah, I think it definitely changed when my financial situation changed a little bit. But yeah,
That's real, man. I think a lot of people can relate to what you both just said. You were telling them for years. I can just hear there's some wives, some girlfriends looking at their van. So we sorry, brothers. But hey, you like she was telling you for years to check it
yeah,
out. Hey, I think you're good up. But you just, all right, she's ripping, man. All right, wifey, whatever you nag,
yeah, yeah,
whatever. Especially if you used to do it with them. Now it's like,
yeah,
oh, you didn't changed up
Right.
on your boy,
Right.
like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was the issue and then he would surround himself with people who were doing
yeah,
not saying that they were addicts in any way, but he would surround himself with people that were still doing that. And
mm-hmm,
they didn't see what I saw. They
mm-hmm,
saw the
yeah.
friendly, happy-go-lucky Steven.
the hostess with the mostest.
Right.
Oh,
They didn't get the other side. And
Yeah,
I call it's a Jekyll and Hyde. Is
mm-mm,
basically what
behind
it
closed
was.
behind
It
closed
was
curtains. You know what I mean?
he
Things
was
aren't always what they
he
seem.
was this great guy when he was sober, and then he would drink that special drink, and
mm-hmm,
it like a whole nother face would come on. For me,
mm-hmm.
more than anything, it was when it was with me. So, and I tried to tell his family, and I tried to tell people, and they brushed it off because they didn't see what I saw. So,
And also too, I think it's a lack of education around it. Now that I'm in it, you know what I mean, and now that I've went through the process and I start to actually understand what alcoholism and what addiction actually is, I think there is and that's why I mean, I do the as much talking about it and the awareness teas and everything. I think there's a lack of education behind it as well, a lack of understanding of what that actually means.
well, like he said, if someone admits can see that you have one, it might mean that
They got to look in the
they
mirror.
might have to, right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
then that makes it difficult. So
No, absolutely, man. We get around some yes men, enablers, like minded people. People we don't want to be confronted with, especially with uncomfortable things. So that's
Right.
what they say. Hurt people hurt people. A lot of broken people hang around other broken people so they can at least relate. Like it's a form of coping, a form of survival. It's not the healthiest thing in the world, but I'll be
no,
damned if we don't do it, you know?
right. It makes you feel okay because you're
Hmm.
like, you know,
Yeah.
then it doesn't, then you don't have someone saying, hey, you have a problem. It's like, hey, let's grab another drink. Let's go.
Hmm.
But and that's why I love Eric what you guys are doing too because consider your mind talking about this and having people get vulnerable like Mino. I love when you get vulnerable on these episodes too because it makes me feel like I'm not alone. And I think that was a part of the addiction was that wanting to not feel like I was alone. I know a lot of the times when Alicia first brought the whole alcoholism thing up to me, I would compare myself to somebody who drank more than me immediately. Like, well, I'm not like such and such. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? We don't want to feel alone or like I stand out of the bunch type of thing, you know. So
When you were still a functioning alcoholic, you still
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
went to work.
bills was
You
paid.
didn't lose. You didn't go to jail. You didn't lose your family. You didn't lose everything. So you were able
Mm-hmm.
to say, okay, well, I'm still doing what I need to do. I must not be, because alcoholics I know about lose everything and they can't function
And,
and they're
Yeah.
yeah.
whatever.
And to your point, we just did a show about eating disorders, and one of the things I brought up and brought it to mind is because I watch bad reality television. Okay, all the
Yeah.
marriage shows, all the whatever.
And I love
You
that.
know,
I,
exactly
I
terrible stuff.
can't believe he does.
I
It's
know. I'm ashamed of
So
myself.
are you a
Nah.
90-day fiance?
He did say
Oh,
90 Day
man.
he's a
Fiance, man.
90
I
day
was listening
fiance
to that.
dude.
Love after lockup?
No,
No,
not there.
thank
Not a
goodness. I
girl.
don't
Come on.
like that.
But but here's the thing. Right next to those shows are to have my 600 pound life, my 1,000 pound sisters, my
Yeah.
and so for at the same time, it's kind of like that whole sentiment. We're looking at this stuff as entertainment, actually. So their addiction, their eating, their disorder, their trauma that's manifesting this maladaptive behavior, it's entertaining. If we put a camera in front of it, and so they're losing it there. But and again, same thing. I used to watch Intervention, that show a lot. Now
I
they
did
show this
too.
falling over drunk and all this other stuff. But the functioning alcoholic isn't entertaining. You
Mm.
can't put a lens in front of you and it's just somebody can't look at you and feel better about their drinking because they're not even probably handling as well as you. Somebody sitting there scarfing down a pizza, they're
Yeah,
looking at that lady scarfing down too, saying at least I'm not as bad as her.
right,
Yeah.
We
exactly.
start using those type that comparison thing. Like I said, we do it in our personal lives, but I think
Yep.
entertainment, the television allows us to do that too on a larger scale. There's always somebody worse than us, so that gives us permission not necessarily address, being the best that we can be.
That kind of kept me. I would say I think that kind of kept me sick and kind of hindered my growth in the beginning. Was the comparing myself to other people. You know what I mean? Well, I'm not as bad as such as, and like Alicia said too, I didn't lose a whole lot, and I think that's a misconception too about the alcoholism thing. That you have to hit like this
Rock bottom.
version of this rock bottom.
Mm,
Everybody's version of rock bottom is going to be a little bit different, but I think the society's vision of rock bottom, you know what I mean, right, is the guy sitting in the jail cell and he
yeah.
lost everything, and mine's didn't look like that.
Cautionary tale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Uh,
think for the most part, mine was more of a I lost a lot of self respect,
mm,
and
mm,
you know, um, when I had those moments of clarity, seeing how much I actually hurt Alicia and seeing how much it actually hurt the family and the damage that I was doing when I was like she mentioned, the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, like when I was going through that transformation and I would come to like my regular senses and I would
mm.
see all the damage that I've
The
done.
aftermath.
The aftermath of everything. It was kind of like, holy crap, like what did I do? You know what I mean? And I'm not that guy. Like, and that's when I started to I actually really wake up and say, like, hey man, I gotta maybe she's right. Maybe I do got a drinking problem. And that's when I actually started to pursue the recovery lifestyle.
Awesome,
Right.
awesome.
And I
That's good.
had reached a breaking point. I
Yeah.
think
Mm.
I was at the point where I was going to have to.
Make a decision.
Well, yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I
Things
was.
wasn't gonna stay the same. Maybe.
Yeah,
You had
basically.
to make an
Well put.
executive
I
decision.
had um, I had reached a breaking point because my health
Yeah.
had deteriorated as well because I wasn't taking care of myself.
Mm.
Yeah, there you go.
So
And
I mentally and physically was not caring for myself because I had to take care of. I felt I had to take care of everything because I didn't know when the shoe was going to drop. Was he going to crash the car and die or kill somebody or go to jail or whatever? So I was under immense stress.
Because to that point, now y'all got stuff to lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so I
How did
had
you cope with that?
reached a
That
point
extra
to
stress.
where I was gonna have to walk away.
Wait, what was that, Mino?
And how did you cope with that? I mean, during that time, obviously, when you're going through it and just being even the supportive person, it does
Um,
take its toll.
I I, I didn't. I don't know. I obviously wasn't drinking because that wouldn't have helped anybody.
Yeah.
Um, I I don't
Yeah.
know. I was not well.
Okay.
I
No,
mentally was
that's real.
not in
Just
a good place. I don't know if I had any kind of real
mm,
coping. I was an angry person.
Well,
mhm.
that is a coping mechanism, but it
Yeah, that's
wasn't
what I'm saying. You
healthy.
could have been coping, just not in a healthy way. How are you coping? Not
Yeah,
well.
I
You feel me? And that's real.
Isolating yourself and burying everything really deep.
I think I ate for sure. Food was my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
stress eating. Yep.
yep. Um, and yeah, I don't know how I made it through. Just I think the kids.
Oh,
But see, I also wasn't healthy for them either. I have a lot of regrets myself of um
Everything played
how
out.
everything played out,
no,
especially for the kids.
no. I can imagine that. Absolutely. You want to be a good parent. You're responsible for that, and so that's an even other layer of responsibility of shame that um that's added on top of everything else. You kind of took the words right out of my mouth. My question was going to be you. How did what was it like supporting him through that 3 year period of trying to get through that 3 months? Because he said he left off. Now he's finally realized, okay, I need the help. I reach out to Alcoholics Anonymous. Now I'm in this program, and then now he's in the program. Okay, that's got to give you a little boost, a little faith. But then, what's it like for the next 3 years to get
Yeah.
up? This is what I want to get to. I was like, I had to ask this question, like, wow, what's that kind of like when
Oh,
you're
thank
in the
you.
program, but it's not going that well.
Right.
Yeah.
It honestly was made it worse
Ooh,
because you had a moment.
Those glimpses.
You had
Those,
these
yeah, those
moments,
moments of
these
clarity.
fleeting moments of sobriety and hope.
Yeah.
that hope.
Um, that then that would go away because he would drink
The
again and
relapse.
things just kind of got worse. I think like just
They
things that
say,
were
I can
happening,
believe that.
um
yeah.
situations, and it kind of it was kind of worse because you're like, okay, you've been given this opportunity and you're still not taking it. And I was begging him to go in somewhere,
Mm.
Yeah.
which he tried before and didn't work.
I
Yeah,
Remember,
was forced. I
many
was
years. Well, he was
forced
forced to
to
go.
go at that point, and that one, and that's why the whole recovery thing kind of left a bad taste in my mouth in the
Right.
beginning. But and at that point, I really didn't want it. But once I really did want it, um,
I don't. I think you didn't. You wanted it, but you didn't really want it. Like you
yeah,
wanted to make the when you went to the outpatient, you wanted to do the right thing, but you weren't. You still weren't ready.
yeah, I wanted to appease people, right? I
there
wanted,
we go. That's good. That's a great word. That's
the
real.
if we look at it in the sense of like my brand, right? I wanted my brand to get this blemish off of it. Like, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? I wanted this vision of this guy with this drinking problem to kind of go away and be like, look, I did this thing for
Hmm.
30 days. I'm good. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
why I think it didn't sustain and it didn't hold. Is because I was doing it just for the look of it. I was doing it because I just wanted people to see me in a certain light. You
Hmm.
know,
Right, and you really weren't.
yeah, so
You weren't focusing on.
I wasn't committed.
You weren't committed. You weren't doing.
I think that's a lot of
Trying to
people's
figure
story.
out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially if you come to it where you have to go. Your first experience with recovery, like maybe it's
Yeah,
a bad one where you have to go. And it's
yeah,
something that's forced on you instead of coming to you. I think that can, again, even embolden that stubbornness.
yeah,
Mhm.
There's a lot of
definitely.
things that, can play into different personality types. Not everybody takes so kindly to being told what to do, even if it's the best thing for them.
Yep. Like lockup. You getting locked up. You know what I mean? You forced to sit in this cell I felt like it was almost a discipline action. I think my first response was to rebel against that too. So soon as I got out, I went crazy. And I think a lot of the time too was like it was picking up right where it left off at. So like even if I had 30 days of sobriety,
Mm.
when I did relapse, I picked up right where I was the
Right
30
back.
days before. So it was like, and it felt like it was even worse because I'm hitting it even harder. So it was like it's gonna
And
It
be
was,
10 times worse.
I I have a quick question for Alicia. Now, during the times that Steve, when you would relapse and go back,
Yeah.
what was that like for you, Alicia? Saying that, man, he said he was gonna get help, he was doing it, and now he's drinking again. Like, what was going through your mind during those times that he would relapse?
Um,
when you knew what he was out doing.
ugh.
Uh,
um, um, anger, very angry, sadness, um, basically losing all hope. It was um, very difficult.
I've heard it's like that expression, the hope deferred or hope deterred makes the heart grow sick.
Yeah,
You can't have
yeah,
true
it was
despair if there's not hope when you see what it could be and gets
right.
taken from you.
You have those fleeting moments of sobriety, um, and then it felt like then he went even harder when he
Hmm.
relapsed, and seeing that was it was agony. It was really difficult.
and I'm gonna chime in and say for a person who's supporting somebody in recovery, I think a lot of times they take it upon their own shoulders, like they want to fix that person, or they're bearing that feeling of they some kind of guilt or something like they did it or they created it or they want to fix it.
Hmm.
And I think we were talking about this too before, Eric, was when I went to rehab. Alicia came to a family program, and that
Yep.
was one of the things that they kind of talked about was, it's not your fault, you didn't cause this and you can't cure it. And I think a lot of times that might have played a role in it, like you feeling like you can't really help, like you feel almost helpless, like you want to be able to help this person. um and I mean, I could kind of relate too, because now that I'm sober and I'm kind of going through this thing, there's some people that I've tried to help. And I
You
and I've
want them to get what you got. You feel it's
yeah, and I've
just
and I've
feel what I feel, you know?
yeah, and I've watched some relapses, and I've seen it, and I mean, of course, it wasn't nothing as close as what me and Alicia have. The being in a marriage or relationship, it's a little different, but I do get the feeling of like, damn, I couldn't save them. You know what I
Mm,
mean? And that feeling of helplessness,
Yeah,
it's
it's
hard.
very
It's very emotional.
it's very helpless, and it's um, and you don't want anybody to know,
Yeah.
so you
mhm.
basically deal with it on your own. There's maybe a few
Huh?
people you can fight in,
Yeah.
but there's a ton of shame,
Yeah.
and so you're alone dealing with it on your own.
Hmm.
Um,
No,
and
that makes sense because you don't barely want to admit it to yourself, let alone another person.
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I definitely didn't deal with it well, and I closed myself off from people because the pretending got to be too much.
Yeah.
That was
Mm,
work, and I just didn't have the energy. I was barely hanging on myself, and I just didn't have the energy, so I just stopped being
Isolation.
around people and stopped. I didn't have any. I didn't hang out with my friends. I didn't have anything, so I just got angrier, more isolated, more sad, more hopeless. It was bad.
And so that kind of leads me into this question that I had, like when I would see these shows, intervention, all that stuff, the programs would be family programs. So if you guys could speak to kind of more of that, like when you finally got the help, what was the support that you received as the supporter for them to finally have that, when did that kind of start coming around for you to get the support on your end,
Yeah, I mean,
from,
I thought the family program was nice. It was interesting. I wasn't around Steven at all.
okay.
Um, so what they did was they had you be around other people that were in the program, so they could come and see the perspective from someone else's family member.
Yeah.
Which I
Oh,
thought was a great idea because a lot of times it's
oh,
hard to hear your own
it's too
person.
personal. Yeah,
Right,
it's too
it's too
personal.
personal. So being able to see what addiction has done to someone else's family member and how it's affected them, and so that's what I was around um, other people who had whatever different addictions, and I was with them for 2 days and getting to know their story and getting their perspective, and being able to talk things out. And so that's what their program was, which I thought was really great. So it was helpful for sure. I didn't do much. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying that that's a pretty cool concept that they had you guys sit with other people.
I think it is. I think it's helpful for both
Mm-hmm.
parties because it's too personal on both ends.
Because
And so,
I did the same thing when she was doing the program. I was with like a parent or someone who was supporting another person dealing with.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
So
yeah.
like uh, I got paired up with somebody's mom, which man, that was emotional too.
Of course, I'm about to say they brought the mama
And I
out
was
on
with
you,
somebody's
man.
mom. I don't even know who it was, but it was a mom, and she was like asking me questions, and I was kind of telling her my story, and it was just an emotional.
yeah,
It
it
was
was it was a it was a rough weekend, but it was good.
You don't personalize it as much.
You don't, and that's what makes it
Yeah,
easier, I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
Yeah, more
But
palatable.
I
Yeah,
would
because
suggest people do something that I didn't do because I was too I just to do Al-Anon.
Yeah, yeah.
Um I would suggest
Al-Anon,
people do that. I probably still
Al-Anon, what's that?
it's for family members of
It's
abuse, right?
Oh, okay,
Al-Anon is kind of like a codependent support group, like a support group of
okay, like
people.
Codependence
Yeah,
Anonymous. I heard of
yep,
that
yep.
before.
And people who are I actually went to an Al-Anon meeting, and I'm not gonna lie, I cried like damn near the whole.
I can imagine.
Like I'm the reason why all you people are sitting here. That's how I
Oh
felt.
man,
That's how I felt, and they embraced me, and they, but it's a lot of people who are dealing with family members or loved ones or friends who deal with addiction, and there's a support group for those people as well. So
Yeah.
I thought that was amazing, man. I encourage anybody who is going through any of this type of stuff, just Google it. There's tons of meetings out there, Al-Anon meetings or AA meetings. I just encourage anybody to go to those, sit down. There's so many of them. Take your pick. If the first meeting doesn't sit well with you, try another one.
Yeah, and that was my issue.
okay.
It was hard for me to talk about it without um
Crying.
getting upset. I do think
Mm,
that I do have, and I've been told that I have PTSD because of it.
Mhm.
okay.
So but I went to a few meetings that just were not great. But I agree with Steven that find one. I probably should still go to one. Um, but
Okay, that's real, man. That's big of you to
Yeah,
say. To be
because
honest with you, a lot of people don't even say
go
that.
to
they,
counseling, go to something.
That kind of sounds like it's similar to like when you're trying to find a therapist, is
yes,
finding the right therapist for you. The same thing seems to go with these meetings when you gotta find one that's find the right support group that fits you.
Right. And it's hard too because then you feel like you have to rehash
Mhm.
everything.
everything. So then it traumatizes
Hmm.
you.
Yeah.
Just having
Relive
to
the moments. Yep.
relive, and talk about it. And then if you don't find the right place and then you go somewhere else, then it's that feeling scared of having to
But I
then.
think a good therapist will ease into it, right? I think a good therapist isn't going to just dive right into all the juicy, deep
No,
stuff
they
right
won't.
away.
I mean,
They kind of work their way
right.
into it, and you can kind of feel them out or whatever. You guys touched on PTSD on
We
episode
had to just
16. Yeah,
PTSD
yeah.
and me,
That
a recent episode.
I don't Steven and I wouldn't be together now if it wasn't for
Therapy.
going to couples therapy. I
Oh,
highly recommend
say
it.
that. Say that for the people in the
Yeah.
back,
Yeah.
in the nosebleed section. Somebody needed to hear
We
that.
found a great person. Shout out
Yeah.
to
There you
Venus.
go.
I was gonna say, I don't know if we can work this
Nice.
out.
I didn't give her last
Shout out
name.
to Venus.
I didn't
No
give her
Serena.
information. But
But no, man,
But I
no,
it
no.
could give a
wasn't.
shout out to Big Bob. Big Bob was my counselor.
Yeah, big. I would
Big shout out to Robert Brooke.
to Bob and
Nice.
Yeah,
yeah. But I
Not all heroes wear capes, people.
yeah, man.
no.
I
But
call him the Phil Jackson of recovery because
Yo, we got the triangle out on y'all.
yo, I hope he listened to this, Bob. I love you. Call me when you hear this. But I do call him the Phil Jackson of this, man.
That's
For
what's
real,
up.
for real. He's every year of my sobriety, I call it like a
Hmm.
championship. So like I had to like a post with Kobe and Jordan holding
Oh,
up three
as you
rings.
should.
I was like, and
Yeah.
I shot him out like, yo, every time every year comes around, I feel like it's another championship, and he's coached me to 4 of them so far. So
As
we
it should
keeping
be.
it
And I
going.
got a question for both of y'all here. When you're going through your sobriety journey and everything like that, at what point did you guys both realize, like, you know what, we can do this? Like, we got this. We can do this.
Great question.
Good question. I know for me, it was when I was in inpatient. For me, it was when I was in, and I mean, also for me, I think it probably was a little different because now I got this mental clarity. You know what I mean? I'm reading, I'm doing yoga, I'm feeling like, and she was coming to visit me like very often,
Every weekend.
every weekend. So I felt that's when I felt it. What
Okay.
about you?
No.
No.
Um,
I'm about to say.
um, it's after we got into couples therapy.
Mm,
It just and what? How long have we been doing that?
5 years
Couples therapy?
with Venus.
No, really?
That's been 5 because we
Well,
started. We started
well,
before.
Wow.
not no. Okay, so yeah,
We started
so
before I got clean.
yeah. Once you after you got sober,
Yeah.
and then we started to go see her regularly, then I would say that's when I felt um better about it. But again, because when you've gotten your hopes up so many times,
Like we are talking
right?
about the relapses.
So I was glad he was in there and he was,
Yeah.
but then he still had to come home and we had to deal with that. And again, I had so many issues of my own.
Yeah.
Before I met Steven, I had my own issues. None of those were addressed in those 8 years of him drinking
Yeah.
because I never took the time to care for myself. So I also had to deal with that. Like, okay, now that he's doing him, now you have to think and focus on you. Like, you have your own issues, and that's hard to deal with.
Mhm,
To accept that you have
mhm.
to figure out your own stuff now because you can't just say, oh, I got to deal with Steven. It's him. It's all his fault. Everything will be great once he's sober. And then you realize, no, you had issues before. Now you have even more issues. You got to figure your own stuff out in order for this to work. It wasn't just Steven. We both had to figure it out. And so that's
Mhm.
a hard pill to swallow.
You both had to be better.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I think once we started going to see her regularly, I really like he had been sober for a period of time.
Yeah.
Then it was easier to try to relax and then okay, yeah, like maybe this can work and starting to like each other again as sober in the sober space and like that kind of thing that takes a
What's
lot
that
of
mean?
time.
Kind of like relearning each other after this whole
Exactly.
journey.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I mean, I feel like
Mhm.
what's that?
Because you guys have grown so much during the journey. It's like relearning each other again.
Yes.
I feel like I was a completely different person after. You know what I mean?
I say that you were because again, I held on to the person you were when you weren't drinking. You're still that same person.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like that part of you hasn't changed. It was when you drank that you were not you. And that's what I held on to because I knew who you really were. And that's who I loved and who I wanted to be with. And that's how I was hoping was going to come out of this. So that has, I don't know if you've really changed. You're just sober. You just don't drink. You stopped doing the thing that changed you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like that.
That's
Yeah, you
deep.
stopped getting in your own way.
Right.
You were on the right
Exactly.
track. You were Steve, and Steve was doing just fine and just great.
Exactly.
Good job, good wife, good fit. And all of a
Doing the
sudden,
thing that
you
that
know,
turns you into somebody else. You've always
yeah.
been this great person that you are.
It forced me to look at why I was doing why I was trying to escape and drink so much. Like, why was I doing? You know, what was there something I was trying? So when I went to treatment, that's kind of what I faced. That's why I felt um like we could do this. You know what I mean? To answer me, like I felt like we could do this because I felt
You saw what you could be.
yeah, yeah. So I kind of felt that. Um, but I do understand, like from her perspective, she's seen me relapse for 3 years. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
She's seen the relapse,
mhm.
so she like, oh man, So it took her a little bit longer time to actually probably get that feeling of okay, yeah, we probably do this.
You know what it reminds me of? I'm getting the imagery of that the Batman movie, like when he's in that pit, when Bane puts
Oh
him in the pit.
yeah,
Yeah, you can have no true despair without hope. Everybody has the vision to climb to the top, and everybody tries with the rope. And so you can't have true despair if there's no hope. I don't know why that just came into my head. Like, dang,
That's it.
you get so far, you climb up there a little bit, and all of a sudden, boom, snatch way back down.
Yeah,
Here it
So
is.
to not just,
yeah, that's a good
yeah,
one. That's very
That is a
good.
good one.
yeah, no, it just came to my head, that imagery, man. And so, and
That's a
to
nice one, actually.
oh, thank you. I tried it. We're doing this episode 18, folks. Episode 18.
18. I love
You know what I'm saying? But speaking of which, y'all should definitely go back and check out episode 16, PTSD and Me,
it.
because I kind of got inspired from a previous episode into what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There could be, some PTSD symptoms that you have that just go undiagnosed. We kind of went over the numbers of it. 70% of people have had a traumatic event. And then out of that, I think it's like 30% or 20% of those people are then diagnosed to have PTSD.
Yeah.
Now, again, all those people had a traumatic event, just certain ones were diagnosed.
Yeah.
And those manifestations, they come out in different ways and different disorders, stress eating, binge eating, eating disorders, things like that. And then the little bit of research I was doing on it, they said one of the consequences of getting well, going to therapy, getting help that you need is things can get better before they get worse, because you're going into those dark places.
Yeah.
You're rehashing those memories. You are bringing up old stuff that you tried to bury. It's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Before it gets better. And so it's natural. That's why we avoid it. People just avoid it. They run away from that place that's bad to them, or those people that were bad to them, or that situation. They just, east is east and west is west, and never the two shall meet.
You
That's
find
much
your own-
easier than to actually confront it.
yeah, find your own coping mechanism that a lot of times is not gonna be good.
No,
In
that's
whatever form it comes in.
And for both of you guys, now that you have went through this journey and you're here now, what are you guys doing to keep that momentum going? And what's the day to day like now?
Shout out to Venus.
Right. No, it's true.
Yo,
Like,
couples therapy. This is a couples therapy advocacy
it is.
episode.
It
officially. This is what we are.
really is. I don't think we would be here now. And we go see her every other week. We still go see her.
Okay.
We had a few moments of not seeing her, and then we're like, I think we should go back and
I
talk.
think we could tell if we're, because the biggest thing too is being able to communicate. And I think that gets
in a
lost.
healthy way.
Yeah, being able to communicate in a healthy way. Thank
Right.
you for that. I think that gets lost sometimes. Just communicate. I think in general, just society, we communicate very poorly.
Well, and
as
having
people.
that third party in there,
Yeah.
someone
Some objectivity.
right,
Yeah.
who doesn't have any skin in the game,
Yeah.
who can call you both out on whatever you're doing or saying or whatever that isn't productive for the relationship is huge, because we might feel some kind, we're not able to communicate it to each other, we're feeling some type of way, and we go in there and should be like, now look,
Yeah.
like, you need to do this, that, or
Yes,
whatever, this is what you guys need to do, but give us some homework,
Yeah.
make sure you make time for each other, whatever it is. Like, it's good to have that person who
To help you feel validated too, because sometimes you might
right, because
know,
right,
yeah.
exactly, and can talk to this person and to the other person and say, hey, maybe you need to rethink this, or you could do this, or whatever.
And I mean, the fact that we're both open to be able to do that, and
Well, yeah, both people have.
Where there's a will, there's a way. There's got to be a will
and
first.
big shout
It has
out to
be.
her right now for being open to be able to talk
Mhm.
about it.
I'm telling you.
My family right here, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
we
her
blessed,
for,
man.
even opening up and sitting down with me and having this conversation right now.
Hey, man.
And then
I get it, man. Hey, 16 years. Hey, I'm trying to be like you when I grow up, big dog. I told you first episode. I'm just trying to be like you, man. So, all right, we're going to wrap it up with just a couple more questions, because, we're not trying to take all of your good time, because these are family people, all right? They got people to love on, So, but I guess, what's the biggest change that you've seen, like, not just in him, because you went over that a little bit, but in your household?
What's the vibe
you
like
know,
in the
been
Moore
sober?
house?
Yeah, how has the household changed?
There's just a weight that was lifted. Like, it just,
Like you can
it's
breathe.
just so much. It's lighter. It's hard to describe, but you don't. There's not this dread. There's not this.
Walking on eggshells
Yes,
type thing?
it's just
freedom.
Yeah, it just it feels so much better to be in this space. It was just so chaotic and so toxic and so everyone, even the kids were just everyone was just kind of like just tense, and it just it's so much lighter in here, and there's more laughter, and
And
Yeah.
being able to enjoy
the
each
kids are
other's
just
company.
it's just different.
Yeah, being able to enjoy each other's company.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And not wondering when there's the shoe's gonna drop because something's gonna, there's
Mhm.
gonna be this tension in the room.
That's that anxiety again. That other
Exactly.
shoe dropping. That anxiety. That
Exactly.
kind
You
of
couldn't
sets that
really enjoy the
anxiety.
moments because you didn't know when it just was.
How long is it gonna last?
Exactly. Exactly. It's just so much lighter in here.
And for me, I mean, I don't have this shame and guilt and the like I was telling you before, the apology circuit. You know what I mean? I'm not.
Gotta get my speech together. Wake up in the morning like,
Yeah,
oh, all
I gotta
right,
wake up
man,
in
here
the
we go
morning,
again.
come knock on the door. Hey, baby, let me come and talk to you real quick.
Hey, you
I'm
know I
not
love you,
funny.
right?
You know.
Um,
And I know there
Yeah,
was a time that I didn't get to talk or speak to Steve for a while, and I'm pretty sure that's during the time you guys were going through your journey. And then when I saw you again and spoke to you, Steve, I remember saying, I feel and I can sense that your aura has changed. I don't know if you remember us having that conversation. And then
yep,
you're like, you know what? Things are looking a lot better, And then next thing you know, you guys got that new place. We
yep.
met up at your new place, beautiful place, and the energy of the house, the energy from you that I get it is different. It's a lot brighter, like Alicia said. And to
Mhm.
see that change in you and see you smile a lot more, it was nice to
Yeah.
see, man. I'm happy for you guys.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mino, man. We love you, bro.
Thank you.
Got
Yeah.
to definitely have you guys back over here for another barbecue too.
absolutely, man,
It was
absolutely.
getting be good. Yeah, you know,
You
I
got
just
to
got
you got
Got
to
it.
use the smoker I got
I
him for
just got this
Christmas.
smoker, so I'm about to get into doing briskets and everything.
See,
So you know,
see, that's real domestic married life when people get excited over their cooking utensils
Right?
and devices,
Told
bro.
him I told him I said,
That's
you know what I want for Mother's Day? A new set of
some pants.
some pans.
Yeah, yeah.
pots and pans. There you go. Get it popping, man. That's beautiful, man. So, all right, man. Last question to wrap it up. What is the best advice you would give to somebody who is supporting a loved one who is on their journey to sobriety? So again, during those years when they trying now.
You had to sit back on that one and
Mm.
breathe.
Yeah, that's what I said. Because I know that what you just said. Like, there's a lot of relatability here, I believe.
Yeah.
Um,
You know. So,
I
and again, you can say some stuff that you wish you did.
well,
Like you
that's
said,
what I
you
was
have
gonna
regret.
say. I would
There you go.
say put yourself first. Um,
Mm.
put your health, your mental well-being, um, first.
I was gonna just say, consider your mind.
Yeah,
Boom.
yeah,
You consider. Dang, I missed that key up. Dang, that was
Yeah,
an alley oop.
see, I
Missed
was
it. This is why we need you on the show
and
more. Dang.
that's the biggest thing. Because don't lose yourself, um, and who you are, um, trying to wait for someone else to figure out who they are. Because you will lose yourself, so quickly, being consumed with how someone else is living and how their well-being is. And that's my biggest thing is take care of you, however that is. If it's go to therapy, go to the Al-Anon meetings, leaving. If you have to leave because you cannot fix somebody else and you have to do what's best for you or your children, leave. If that's what's the right thing, do what is best for you. And if you have kids, do what is best for your kids. But if you're doing what's best for you, that will go along
ultimately,
with
yes.
what's best for your kids. That's my biggest advice is take care of you no matter what it is. Do not lose yourself.
You didn't
Trying to
cause it.
save somebody else.
You can't cure it.
Exactly. And that's the hardest thing to accept is that you cannot save somebody else.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
can,
you are not Doctor Alicia,
you
therapist,
right.
licensed
You
therapist.
and
No,
they can't
no,
even
that's
necessarily do it either. The
It's
only
an
yeah.
person that
inside
can
job.
save themselves is you. So that's why if you are dealing with somebody else who's having sobriety issues, take care of you because that's all you can do.
What do they say in the airplane when you get into a crash? Put your own mask on
Yes.
first.
Yeah.
You know what I
There
mean?
you go. Put you on
And,
oxygen
Yep.
mask.
and I think
Because
that
you will lose yourself trying to save somebody else.
So I think that applies to this life. It make sure you're okay first. That's good advice, man.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's
Give
what
me
I
one time.
Yeah, okay.
There you go, guys.
Teamwork makes the dream work. 16 years, folks. See that?
That was a
Again.
high five up top for the people who's listening.
Yeah.
Again,
Advice from Alisha
thank
Moore.
you to Steve and Alicia for coming on the podcast. Make sure you guys check out Steve with his moreawareness.tees.com. All the proceeds go to a very great cause. Thank you, Alicia, for coming in and giving
Thank
us
you
your
for
side of
having me. I'm
things.
glad I was here.
Yeah.
I'll come back for sure.
Oh, yeah, we definitely will have you guys back on.
Awesome,
Of
man.
course.
Yeah, the fam. See, this is a community, folks. We're building it.
There we go.
Yep. Other
Thank
than
you
that,
guys
I mean,
so
that's all
much
I
for
got.
your-
Anything else, Steve? Any last words?
Nothing much, man, for me, but just make sure y'all shop moreawareness.tees.com. Like Mino says, going to a great cause. And thank you guys once again. Check out all of the episodes. I'm definitely going to check back into that episode 16. I think that ties in as well.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. We do appreciate it. If we get having taking out the time out of you all's busy schedule and lives to mess with us and really help somebody out there, because I think this will be at least our most relatable episode, because there are a lot of people out there that are supporting somebody, whatever that addiction, disorder, whatever they're going through. There's people around that person that do love them, and I think this will help them figure out what they can do and what their role is in that. So, with that. Hey, man, thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
All right. Peace.
Thank you.